Nick Herbig is officially going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for at least another 5 years. But just because that happened doesn't mean that the Pittsburgh Steelers are off scot-free. So today we are going to discuss what exactly happens next for the Pittsburgh Steelers because now they have a decision to make, not only in that edge room, but potentially with future contracts with big name players going forward. So I'm Rob Gregson of A to Z Sports Pittsburgh, and today we are going to break down what comes next for the Pittsburgh Steelers following Nick Herbig's big-time contract extension. But before we jump in, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment on what you want to see next. We are grateful for the support, and we will be here throughout the summer leading up to a huge 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers season. All right, starting off with the news of the day. Obviously, Nick Herbig signed a 4-year contract extension worth $100 million, $42 million guaranteed, pays him $25 million annually, averages out to be somewhere between the 14th and the 16th highest paid pass rusher in the league, depending on what you're looking at, whether that's average per year or total contract value. But the bottom line is Nick Herbig has long-term security with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, it's a good job by everyone involved. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, you get out ahead of this potential headache. You don't have to worry about Nick Herbig hitting the free agent market. You don't have to worry about using the franchise tag on him. And you lock up a 24-year-old defender who is only ascending, who's only heading into the prime of his career to be the future 1A in your pass rushing quartet or trio or whatever it might be going forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because Nick Herbig, he certainly deserves every bit of the contract he just got. You look at him year over year and you see the sack numbers have increased, but you look at some of the advanced metrics like the pass rush win rate and you see that he's significantly gotten better there year over year. He has become one of the most efficient and explosive pass rushers in the National Football League on a down-to-down basis. This is a guy who's not a full-time starter, yet he comes out there and he consistently performs down in and down out. And beyond what he's done as a pass rusher, he's gotten much better against the run. He's become a true three-down player in the NFL, which is exactly why the Pittsburgh Steelers felt comfortable shelving out over $100 million to a player that's technically not even a starter. But with that comes some other decisions that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to make. Number one, what now becomes of Joey Porter Jr.? A lot of people thought that Porter was going to be the first one that would receive a contract extension this offseason because you look at that 2023 class and you got names like Herbig and Porter and Keanu Ben and Darnell Washington, and all of those guys are really candidates for long-term contract extensions with, of course, Porter and Nick Herbig being atop the list. Well, Nick Herbig's got his, so a lot of people are thinking, wait, does this mean the Steelers don't want to extend Joey Porter Jr.? Does this mean that they're not going to have enough money to? Well, here's the key in all of this. For one, the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, want to extend Joey Porter Jr. He was a lockdown corner in 2025, coming off a career year. He's played 3 years of extremely high-caliber football. He is the future of the cornerback position in Pittsburgh. But beyond that, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have to really worry about Nick Herbig's contract kicking in until 2027 because he signed an extension. He's heading into the 4th year of his deal where he's going to make a fraction of what he just signed for. So you still have the flexibility to sign Joey Porter Jr. And beyond that, you have the flexibility because you're not going to be paying a quarterback big money in 2027. Whether it's Will Howard, Drew Aller, or a quarterback they draft in the first round, they're going to have somebody in Pittsburgh on a rookie deal. And sure, Aaron Rodgers, he's taking somewhat of a discount, but still, he's making 22 to 25 million by the time the end of the season rolls around. To go from that to a third, maybe even a quarter of what he's making is going to save the Pittsburgh Steelers a lot of money that they can dedicate to Joey Porter Jr. on this year's cap and going forward. So no worry for Joey Porter Jr. I see some talk out there. What happens with him? Why didn't they extend him first? He's going to be just fine. That one's a little bit trickier. He came out and said during mandatory minicamp on Tuesday that he believes that he is an elite player, that he has played at an elite level. Well, if you look at the money of the elite corners in the NFL, they make somewhere between $24 and $31 million. So that is going to be the threshold that Joey Porter Jr. is looking to land in. Right now, he's only making about $2 million. So heading in to this 2026 season, he's really looking to somewhere between 10 and 15x what he is making right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you could argue that he deserves every bit of that. But the bigger question in all of this isn't what happens with Joey Porter Jr. or Keanu Ben or even Darnell Washington. The bigger question is what happens with that star pass rushing trio of Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, and TJ Watt. There seems to be a thought that between TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith is the one who the Pittsburgh Steelers are more likely to move off of. We know back during the draft there was some talks that they might take some calls. That was shut down pretty quick. Alex Highsmith shut it down. The Steelers shut it down. Didn't come to fruition. He's obviously still on the team. However, Alex Highsmith has 2 years left on his deal. He has no more guaranteed money past this season. He is going to be looking for a new deal. He is the one who's 28, soon to be 29, who's coming off his most productive season as a Pittsburgh Steeler, who's shown that he can be durable, who has shown that he was the most productive, most efficient, and most reliable pass rusher. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have a decision to make. Do they decide to trade Alex Highsmith or let him walk after this upcoming season, or maybe even before? Because again, if you wait until next year, potential injuries arise. He's a year older. That draft capital, you're probably not going to get a 2027 pick. It's probably going to be a 2028 pick. And we know the 27 class is better than the 28 class. These are all things that the Pittsburgh Steelers have to consider. Now, if you told me which one is more likely to be traded, it's probably Alex Highsmith, because we know the other man is a Mount Rushmore figure. He bleeds black and gold, and that, of course, is TJ Watt. But here's where things get interesting with Watt. We know that he just signed a massive contract extension less than a year ago, honestly. July 17th, signed a deal that paid him a record-setting amount of money at the edge rusher position. But here is where things get tricky. Because if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, TJ Watt is coming off a year where he had 7 sacks. He simply wasn't as productive. Of course, a lot of that is probably due to the fact that he was dealing with a foot injury that then led to a collapsed lung, which then led to him missing some games. They were worried about him down the stretch. All of that needs to be factored in when we talk about TJ Watt having a down year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, he's going to be a year older. He's coming off a down year. And that first step, quick twitch explosion, simply isn't what it has been in years past. So he's probably going to need to become more of a power player. He's going to need to shift what his skill set has been. He's going to need to rely on that technique that has always been atop his game. But he can still be a very good player. And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and we're talking about trading players and getting the most possible draft capital, you're going to get a heck of a lot more for TJ Watt than you are Alex Highsmith. Now, you have to find someone who's willing to take on that contract at his age, coming off the season that he just had. But if you're really looking to move someone, TJ Watt would be the one that you would have to consider. If, of course, your objective is to regain high draft capital, then TJ Watt is the one to move. However, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't need to worry about moving anybody because Nick Herbig's contract doesn't kick in until next year. They can play this season with that same 4 that they had last year, of course. Jack Sawyer, Nick Herbig, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. But if they decide that they want to get out ahead of things, that they want to gain as much valuable draft capital as possible, we could be in for another busy summer. Because if you remember back to last year, we had the Jalen Ramsey, we had the Jonnu Smith trade, and we could be in store for more fireworks in Pittsburgh this summer. But you guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers should do in that pass rushing unit now that they have signed Nick Herbig? And do you like the contract that they have signed Nick Herbig to? Please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave us some comments, and let us know what you want to see as we go forward into the offseason.